Erev Tov Rabotai, we are continuing with our Mishna Yomi, Masechet Yoma. We are up to Perek Het Mishnah Bet. Today's Mishnayot should be Leilun Nishmat, Neria ben Svetlana, Aranbayev, and Eliyahu ben Burchai Israelov, Menuchatam Began Eden, Amen. While it is forbidden on Yom Kippur to eat any amount of food or drink any amount of liquid, one is not liable to karet for a deliberate violation or to bring a hatat offering for a mistaken violation unless he eats or drinks a certain minimum amount as set out in this Mishnah. And the Mishnah begins, Hauchen ki chotevet agasa, if one eats an amount of food that is equal to the volume of the large date. Now this refers to the fruit of a kind of palm tree that grew in Eretz Israel, whose dates were larger than average. The Mishnah says, Kamoa urgarinata, that is an amount equal to the volume of it, the fruit itself and its pit. Now this includes the volume of the date's flesh as well as the pit, but does not include the space that is found in these kinds of dates between the flesh and the pit. Therefore, in order to arrive at the volume of the large date, one would measure it after squeezing it so the space is removed. V'ashoteh melo lugmav, or one who drinks an amount of liquid that would fill his cheeks. Now this does not mean that the liquid completely fills both cheeks. Rather, the Mishnah refers to an amount of liquid that would cause one of his cheeks to bulge if he would push all of it to one side of his mouth, as the Gemara explains on page 80a. This amount is measured according to each individual. It is a larger quantity of liquid for a larger person and less for a smaller person. As the Mishnah says in Masechet Kelim, chapter 17, Mishnah 11, Hayav, he is liable to punishment. Now the Rav points out that regarding most other prohibitions, such as eating non-kosher meat, the amount for which one is liable is a kazait, an olive's volume. The volume of the large date mentioned in our Mishnah is larger than a kazait. Now the reason for this difference is as follows. In order to violate other eating prohibitions, one must eat enough that the Torah considers it an act of eating. The sages define this as a kazait. With regard to Yom Kippur, however, the Torah did not forbid eating. The Torah did not say do not eat on Yom Kippur. Rather, the Torah commanded that we afflict ourselves by not eating. One is liable for not afflicting himself only if he ate enough that he is considered somewhat satisfied and no longer afflicted. The sages understood that the amount of food that satisfies a person to this extent is more than a kazait. Likewise, the standard amount of liquid that renders one liable for other eating violations is the riv'it, which for an average person is more than the fill of his cheeks. Here too the sages understood that the amount of drink that would satisfy a person is less than a riv'it, and therefore even by drinking the amount of the fill of his cheeks, he is liable for not afflicting himself on Yom Kippur. Now the Mishnah states that the law regarding one who eats and drinks different foods and drinks at one time. Right? So he's eating and drinking different foods and drinks at one time. Kol ha'ochalin mitztarfin lakakotevet. All foods combined to the volume equal to that of a large date. If one eats, for example, half a date's volume of meat and half a date's volume of fruit, he is liable to punishment for eating on Yom Kippur. And likewise, all liquids combined to the amount of the fill of his cheeks. However, eating less than the amount of a large date and drinking less than the amount of the fill of his cheeks do not combine. One who eats, for example, half of a large date's volume of food and at the same time drinks half of the fill of his cheeks of liquid, he is still not liable to punishment. Eating less than the full amount of food and drinking less than the full amount of liquid does not cause a person to be satisfied even when he eats and drinks together. And that is Rabotai Mishnah Bet. Mishnah Gimel continues, if one mistakenly ate or performed melacha, forbidden labor, on Yom Kippur, he is obligated to bring a chatat offering, as the Mishnah says in Masechet Kiritut, chapter 1, Mishnayot 1 and 2. A mistaken violation means that he either did not know or forgot that it was Yom Kippur, or he did not know or forgot that this action, eating or performing melacha, is forbidden on Yom Kippur. This Mishnah deals with the obligation to bring a chatat, a sin offering, for violations of Yom Kippur. The general rule is that if one violated several different prohibitions for which one is liable to bring a chatat, he must bring a separate chatat for each violation. So for example, if one mistakenly performed melacha on Shabbat and then mistakenly ate forbidden fats, he is obligated to bring 2 chatat offerings, one for each prohibition. However, if he violated the same prohibition even many times, he needs to bring only 1 chatat for all the violations. So for example, if one mistakenly ate forbidden fats and then repeated this action, even if he did it numerous times, he is obligated to bring only 1 chatat offering for all the violations of this prohibition. This is true, however, only if he remained unaware of that prohibition the entire time. If he was made aware of the prohibition between violations, he must bring a separate chatat for each violation. Like in the previous example, if he was told or reminded that eating forbidden fats is prohibited, or that the food he is eating is forbidden fats, and then he forgot and ate forbidden fats again, he must bring 2 sin offerings, one for each act of eating. Now, the period of awareness divides, so to speak, the 2 actions and creates 2 separate sin offering obligations, as the Mishnah says in Masechet Kritut, chapter 3, Mishnah 2. Our Mishnah deals with the case of one who violated Yom Kippur twice in a single period of awareness. Achal v'shata behelem echad. If one mistakenly ate and drank on Yom Kippur in one period of unawareness, meaning he was not made aware at any time between the eating and the drinking that it was forbidden, eno chayav ela chatat echad. He is liable to bring only one chatat. The act of eating and the act of drinking are prohibited by the same verse in Sefer Vayikra, chapter 23, pasuk 29. Any soul who will not be afflicted on this very day, as we spoke about in Mishnah 1. Therefore, if he ate and then drank, he has violated the same prohibition 2 times and is liable for only 1 sin offering. Achal ve'asa melacha. But if one ate and performed melacha, forbidden labor on Yom Kippur in one period of unawareness, chayav shtei hataot, he is liable to bring 2 sin offerings. Eating or drinking and performing melacha, forbidden labor, are 2 separate prohibitions derived from 2 separate verses. The verse prohibiting eating and drinking, we said. The verse prohibiting melacha, forbidden labor, and Yom Tov is in Sefer Vayikra, chapter 23, pasuk 28. The verse before the one we mentioned earlier, you shall not do any melacha on this very day, for it is the day of atonement. An additional law regarding the liability for eating and drinking in Yom Kippur, the Mishnah states, achal ochalin she'enan re'uyin la'achila. If one ate foods that are not fit for eating, such as bitter herbs or spoiled meat, v'shata mashke she'enan re'uyin lishtiyah, or drank liquids that are not fit for drinking, v'shatat tzir or muyas, and even if he drank fish brine, liquid that oozes from salted fish, or dissolved fish fats, patur, he is not liable to a chatat. Now the Torah commands that we afflict ourselves in Yom Kippur by not eating or drinking. Eating food that is not fit for eating or drinking liquid that is not fit for drinking does not give a person a feeling of satisfaction. Therefore, one who eats or drinks such foods or liquids is not liable. Now the Mishnah adds the case of drinking the liquids from fish because those liquids are often used as dips for bread. The Mishnah teaches that even though in other circumstances, such as when they are eaten with bread, they are fit to be eaten, if one drinks them alone, he is not liable since they are not fit to be consumed by themselves. And that is Rabbi Netanel, today's Mishna Yomi. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen v'amen.